Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. I'm Rhino, and in today's video I have 3 replays for you in the AMX 30B2 FORAD, which is of course the tank that you get when you purchase the Ultimate Season Pass for the Gladiators season, and I do have a review of this tank on my channel which I'll link above for you now. But in today's video I just wanted to take another look at this tank because I've played quite a few games in it since my review, and I think I did underestimate it a little bit. I did say it was very good, but I didn't realise just how good it could be, and after sort of mastering the playstyle of this tank a little bit more, I've been having some better games, and I think it's nice to put this video up to show you the devastation that you can cause in this tank. So the first gameplay in the background is on Raseiniai, and we are in a standard battle and we have taken the castle location. We were pretty useless for the first sort of minute to a minute and a half, I'm not going to lie, just trying to find targets to shoot at, but for the rest of the battle you're going to be seeing the firepower capability of the 30B2 FORAD and just how dangerous this tank can be and how it definitely can change the course of a battle. So I'll start off by telling you my commander and equipment setup and how that's affected some of the stats of this vehicle, just in case you didn't want to sit through my review, and then we're going to get talking about the playstyle of this tank and how I managed to get a little bit better in it and why I think it's so powerful in the game right now. So in terms of my equipment, I'm running advanced loader, advanced powertrain and traction system. And in terms of my commander skills, I'm running 6th Sense, Born Leader, Rapid Loading, Steady Aim, Rapid Aim, Snapshot, Run and Gun, Off-Road Driving and Track Mechanic. So in terms of the equipment, I'm running both pieces of the mobility equipment to try and avoid getting rammed by heavier tanks and taking big chunks of damage, because that's happened quite frequently with this tank. However, you could consider taking that out for any one of a gun stabilizer, improved ventilation, gun lay and drive, or the advanced concealment, depending on your playstyle and what you think would benefit you. I would probably recommend out of those two the improved ventilation or maybe the gun lay and drive, because the aim time isn't the best for an Era 2 medium tank. And in terms of the commander skill, 6th Sense and Born Leader as standard on every one of my 9 skill commanders. Rapid Loading to help the DPM, 4 gun handling skills to negate the fact that I'm running 2 pieces of mobility equipment with the equipment setup. Run and Gun, because you're going to be firing a lot on the move, especially with that secondary 20mm auto cannon. And lastly, Off-Road Driving to help the mobility out just a little bit more. And Track Mechanic, you're a paper thin tank and you want to get your tracks on as quick as possible when you get caught out into a pretty bad situation. So that's it for this video in terms of the stats. Let's just talk about what's happening in the background for the remainder of this gameplay, and then in the next game I will tell you what has changed with my setup and how it has affected the base stats of the 30B2 FORAD. So you saw there, we just managed to bide our time. We were preserving our hit points at the start of the battle. We didn't do much for the first minute to a minute and a half, maybe even 2 minutes, but then we just found some targets that were engaging with other tanks and then put into use the great 105mm gun and the 20mm autocannon, and using them in conjunction with the multiple weapon system. And that's something you're going to have to get used to mastering if you want to master this vehicle. So in that game there, even though we had a pretty poor start, we managed to finish here on Raseiniai in first place on our team in a victory with 1.4k XP and 4 kills, 7.1k direct damage and 1700 assistance. We do make a profit with or without a premium account, and I wouldn't have made much profit without a premium account, and that's because I am running the full APF SDS as the premium option, because the heat is largely useless in Cold War. But that's it for the first gameplay. Let's skip on into the second one. So we are now into the second gameplay of today's video, and we are in a team destruction battle here on Airfield, and this is going to be a very quick battle which is going to demonstrate how much damage you can do very quickly indeed in the 30B2 FORAD. So in the first gameplay I told you about my setup for this vehicle. As you can see, I also run large med, large repair kit and the enhanced smoke screen. let me tell you how that has affected the base stats of this vehicle. So my view range has jumped up from 520 to 542 meters. My still concealment rating has improved from 375 meters down to 336 thanks to the enhanced smoke screen. My horsepower has gone from 720 to 756. My power to weight ratio has gone from 19.5 to 20.43. Top forward speed from 65 to 75 kilometers an hour. Reverse speed 23 to 26 kilometers an hour. And hold reverse has gone from 44 degrees a second to 48 degrees a second, and the turret reverse has gone from 40 degrees a second to 46 degrees a second. In terms of the firepower of this vehicle, on the 105mm gun, the primary reload has gone from 7.8 seconds to 5.99 seconds. The aim time has gone from 2 seconds down to 1.92 seconds, so not much of a drop there. The accuracy has gone from 0.26 to 0.22, and the DPM from 3,537 to 4,609. And in terms of the secondary 20mm auto cannon, the reload has dropped from 15 to 11.53 seconds. The DPM, if you were using and penetrating all of your standard rounds, the APDS rounds, the DPM has gone from 5.3k to 6.4k. And in terms of the HE on this secondary 20mm autocannon, if you were to penetrate every single HE round, which is not going to happen in very many instances, your DPM will have gone up to 7,740 from 6,453. So what I wanted to talk about mainly in today's video is the multiple weapon system that you can use with this vehicle, similar to what you can use on the BMP line in the Eastern Alliance tech tree with those light tanks. You can switch between your 105mm gun and your secondary gun, which in this instance on the FORAD is the 20mm autocannon. And if you get used to switching them between every single round you fire with the primary gun, back to the secondary, back to the primary, and you can practice that and master that, you can put out some insane damage. And if you know which targets to shoot with your secondary, although it hasn't got great penetration, it does have very nice DPM capability on lightly armoured light tanks, the rears of heavy and medium tanks, and tank destroyers as well that don't have any armour. And if you are continuously firing into the same spot of a vehicle, you put yourself in a great chance of setting them on fire, damaging your ammo racks, fuel tanks, things like that. Critical hits are fantastic with this secondary gun, so definitely utilise that. If you were to think of a combined DPM using the multiple weapon system and the 105mm gun and the 20mm gun in the instance of the 30B2 FORAD, you're looking at a combined DPM, if you don't have an equipment and command setup, of around 8.9k, 8,915 to be exact actually, which is an insane DPM. And that is of course if you're penetrating every round, which is very hard to do because the penetration is only, I believe, 87mm on the 20mm APDS rounds. However, if you are fighting a lightly armoured tank like that Object 120 we just engaged with, you can definitely penetrate at least sort of 3/4 of your rounds if you are aiming that correctly and get into the sides and rear, and that would put your DPM up using the 105 and the 20mm autocannon to 11,000 sort of technical DPM, if you will. So definitely utilise that multiple weapon system. It can come in handy a lot on this tank. So there on Airfield, we managed to have a great battle. We finish with a great profit with or without a premium account. 2 kills, 8.6k direct damage, 393 assistance, that's 9k combined. And if you look in the battle duration, it was 3 minutes and 56 seconds. So yeah, definitely utilising the DPM of this tank. The 105mm gun has great DPM by itself, but when you combine that with that multiple weapon system, no time penalty, just hold down that ammo select button, switch to your secondary 20mm gun, and you will be laughing. So we're going to get on into the third replay now, and we're going to talk a little bit about what we are doing in that gameplay in terms of the map tactics. So we are now into the third and final gameplay of today's video, and we are here on Fisherman's Bay in an encounter battle. So that means the capture circle is in E5, E6 area, in the middle of the map, and we're going to go to that mid-ridge and see if we can get some early spots off. And this is one of the reasons why I do use the advanced powertrain and the traction system, so both pieces of mobility equipment, just to be able to get into position early on, play a little bit like a scout. On certain maps you don't want to go too far forwards because you can get caught out and you don't have any armor to back up your firepower, so you definitely want to watch out for that. But getting that mobility allows you to get into advantageous positions. As you can see there, we managed to spot a couple of tanks towards the south of this map. No assistance, but sometimes that will pay off. And then we're using our enhanced smoke screen to make sure we don't take fire from the southwestern corner of the map, where a lot of tanks like to hide down that one line. So we talked about what I like to do at the start of the battle, and that's just getting a little bit of vision. I try and preserve my hit points as best as possible. Don't play too aggressive too early on, especially when most of your team are hiding right at the back of the map in the northwest. As you can see, everyone is in sort of A2, A3, B2, B3 on this map. So we're going to be trying to get some spots off on this mid-ridge using the great gun depression of this tank, which is 8 degrees, and that's perfect for a ridgeline like this. And we're going to try and bait people over like this Mobat, where we can put a shot into him with our 105, then switch to our secondary gun and completely obliterate that Mobat. And I believe we even set him on fire there, and we've just boosted our damage total very nicely indeed. We're getting some nice assistance from this mid-ridge position, so you can play calculated aggression. You definitely won't want to sit around here for too long, especially since we are looking like we are losing the town and a lot of enemies are coming that way. We're going to have to drop back a couple of ridge lines. Always pay attention to your mini-map for that reason, because this thing becomes a sort of HP pinata when you do have multiple tanks firing at you at the same time. But for the moment, we're just going to be picking our shots off with this great gun, and we're going to remember that we do have that secondary gun to use whilst we are reloading. So you definitely want to practice holding down that ammo select button when you have fired your primary gun, even if there's no one to shoot at. Just practice doing that, and then it can become a little bit of an instinct. You can practice doing that at long distance and firing with the secondary. You do give your position away with the shell tracers, but that's definitely something you can practice doing on lightly armoured targets, and then you can get used to doing that in close quarters combat, and that can give you the edge on some vehicles that have decent DPM with their primary gun, but they don't have a secondary gun to back up their primary gun. So that's why I think that this tank is so good, and why, with a little bit more patience and another play session or two in this vehicle, I've decided this is a very, very good tank indeed. I thought it was good originally, like I said in my review, which I linked at the start of this video, and I'll do that at the end as well of this video. But I think it's even better than I first thought, just because it has that insane DPM potential against lightly armoured targets, and you'll be surprised how many different armoured plates you can pen with that 87mm of penetration with your secondary 20mm gun, and with 45mm of HE penetration, there's a good chance you can penetrate that with light tanks as well, and the rear of some tanks in Area 2, so definitely make use of both of the pieces of firepower on this tank. It can become very dangerous indeed. So here on Fisherman's Bay, we've picked up 4.5k direct damage and 1000 assistance so far. It's still a relatively even game. We're down by one tank. It's 10 versus 9, but we are kind of pincered into that northwestern corner with me and two mediums here holding this mid-ridge. The reason I'm staying here is to use the view range and try and create a little bit of crossfire on the tanks that are coming down that one line, and also the tanks that are in the centre contesting the capture circle. We have the gun depression here to be able to peek these ridge lines and put our firepower to work, but we're always on a swivel looking at who could have shots on us, and if we feel like we're in sort of too deep, we are going to try and escape this position. But at the moment, in this current gameplay, it looks like it's going to be a very hard thing to do to be able to get out of dodge here on Fisherman's Bay. We've held this position because someone needed to get the vision out on these tanks in the middle, because Obviously, you can't always spot tanks with the True Vision system, and it's always nice to get a bit of assistance yourself. We tracked that M60 there in a very dangerous position for him and a good position for us, and we're going to let our secondary reload and put round after round into that M60. And what I did there was, whilst I was auto-locked firing, I held down the ammo select whilst I continued to hold down the right trigger, so it fired my primary gun straight away without me having to re-aim, readjust my aim. And that's something you can definitely do at mid to close ranges, and that just makes that time between switching your firepower that little bit quicker. So now it's looking pretty dangerous for us right now. We're down by 2 tanks. Unfortunately, we're trying to escape and taking quite a bit of fire. I just want to drop down behind this ridgeline here on the one line, and then I can use these ridgelines to poke up, get some view range, and hopefully get some more shots off. In hindsight, I kind of wish that I went a little bit further down this one line and maybe got some shots into the rear of tanks that are on the E line. However, hindsight's 2020, isn't it? And you can only do so much in the battle. We're having a great battle so far. I was trying to push 10k in this tank because it's definitely capable of high damage numbers, and we're going to see how close we get in the remaining portion of this battle. I know there's tanks coming down this one line. I'm just waiting for them to advance, and I want to make sure I penetrate my shot. Unfortunately, I miss, but I immediately switch to the secondary gun, and then I'm just going to be switching back and forth as quickly as possible and hoping that my setup's better than the enemy tanks and I'm able to take out the FORAD. Unfortunately, his fire gets put out and we do take fire from elsewhere. We get taken out, but we still have a pretty nice game for the AMX 30B2 FORAD there. We finish with a nice profit with or without a premium account. We finish with 9.4k direct damage, 1.6k assistance, 1 kill, only 799 XP, which is a little bit disappointing, but the profit's the thing that you want to be getting with these Era 2 premium tanks. So 11.1k combined there in that battle there on Fisherman's Bay in 6 minutes and 58 seconds, reiterating the dangerous firepower of this tank. So how do I recap this video? You want to make sure you set up your vehicle correctly. Playstyle, you can definitely use your speed to get a bit of vision, but definitely keep your head on a swivel, or your tank on a swivel, or your turret I should say. Make sure you're aware of your mini-map. Then you can fall back, use the DPM of this tank. Don't be afraid to get stuck in where possible and use your DPM. You can take shots because you can exchange very nicely with both pieces of your firepower, and I hope that this gameplay has given you a little bit of extra tips on how to play the AMX 30B2 FORAD. I think it's even better than I first thought, and it's slowly becoming, or fastly becoming, one of my favourite premium tanks in Era 2. So thank you all so much for your support. I hope you are having a great weekend, and until next time, I'll see you on the battlefield, and bye for now.